Since Hellblade 2's release is right around the corner, I decided to go back and play the first game for the first time. This is my first time ever experiencing Hellblade since its release all the way back in 2017, and I thought it'd be fun to see how well this game has aged over the past 7 years. For starters, Hellblade is a third-person story game set within Nordic mythology. You play as Senua, a warrior who's troubled with psychosis that is on a quest to try to bring her boyfriend back to life. In order to do so, she has to travel into the afterlife with her boyfriend's head so that she can essentially save his soul. If you didn't already know or haven't already noticed, this game sets a very dark, gritty, and depressing tone and honestly does a very good job at maintaining that tone throughout the game. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Honestly, I really enjoy games of this style with that dark, gritty, and depressing tone. So Hellblade style is right up my alley with both revolving around ancient mythology and the darker tone. The overall style and mood this game sets is something I really liked and honestly wish more games had this type of approach. The main focus of Hellblade is that you play as Senua, who suffers from psychosis, and they wanted to try to showcase what experiencing psychosis is really like. This is such an awesome twist to apply to a game that I honestly haven't seen done before. I genuinely can't think of another game that has tried to make the player feel as if they're experiencing psychosis, and I honestly love the creativity and concept behind this entire game. I personally don't know anyone who has psychosis or has ever experienced it, but if it's anywhere close to what it's like in Hellblade, I don't envy those who have or currently do experience it. The way this game makes you feel stress, fear, and anxiety is probably one of the most unique ways I've had a game make me feel those ways. Having voices constantly talking to you or arguing with each other about the current situation you're experiencing dramatically impacts the situation, and it's usually not with a feeling of joy. It again amplifies the feeling of stress, fear, and anxiety. Like, there was a few points in the game where the voices stopped altogether, and rather than feeling like I finally got some peace and quiet because they finally shut up, I felt even more stress and anxiety because they were no longer there. Having both the voices causes that feeling of fear and anxiety, and also suddenly losing them causes it as well. Moving past that, one thing that did get on my nerves eventually was the combat. I get that this game is more centered around the story and making you feel a certain type of way. Combat isn't really that big of a focus, and that's perfectly fine. Honestly, not having super in-depth combat in these types of games doesn't bother me, which Hellblade doesn't have very in-depth combat at all. However, the way enemies would just randomly not be stunned from my attacks and just power through them and hit me while I'm locked into an animation got pretty frustrating. That and enemies seem to love to get behind you to where you couldn't see them anymore, forcing you to rely on the voices you hear to warn you of incoming attacks, which those voices don't even alert you every time an attack you can't see is coming. Honestly, the combat in this game was my least favorite part of it. However, that doesn't mean it was absolutely terrible either. If you're looking for a game that has a very deep combat system, then Hellblade doesn't really offer that. Another thing that wasn't necessarily bad about the game but definitely caught me off guard was in some of the cutscenes, Senua has these conversations with people from her past. Some of these people are actually real life people, like green screened into the game. So it's Senua, who is the in-game character, having a conversation with a real person. I'm sure behind the scenes this is a much faster, cheaper, and easier way to do these types of cutscenes. However, it just felt odd to me in the beginning. At times it felt like I was watching an early 2000s soap opera but with really good acting. It's definitely something you get used to as you play the game. Just the first few times I found myself losing immersion and more so giggling at how it really, for whatever reason, kept reminding me of an early 2000s soap opera. After finishing the game, I felt myself a little confused on the ending of the game. Even though it's been 7 years, I won't go too far into detail because I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people checking out the game for the first time because of Hellblade 2 coming out so soon. However, after reading a few other people's interpretations on what they believe the ending meant, it made a lot more sense to me. This could just be me missing some clues throughout the story, but I did feel a little confused on the ending initially. After seeing what other people had thought about the ending, I actually really liked the way it ended. Again, I won't go too far into detail, just know if you're planning on playing Hellblade and find yourself confused at the ending, do a quick Google search and see what other people's thoughts were on it, and it'll most likely make a lot more sense. From a technical standpoint, the game actually has aged very well. Gaming has come a long way in the past 7 years, and Hellblade could honestly pass as a new release still to this day. I didn't encounter really any issues during my playtime apart from one. In the boss fight with Fenrir, I managed to die in my first attempt. When I respawned and was ready to attempt the fight again, the game had bugged, not allowing me to fight back, dodge, or even die again. No joke, I became invincible and couldn't let Fenrir kill me again. However, a quick relaunch of the game fixed this issue, and nothing like this ever happened again. Overall, I really liked Hellblade. The story and the tone of the game set right out of the gate had me hooked, and I'm honestly really excited for Hellblade 2. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Have you played Hellblade? If you have, did you like it? it, or was it not for you? Are you planning on playing Hellblade 2 when it releases? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and if you like anything and everything about gaming, you should subscribe so that way you never miss a video.